Hey friends, this is Pastor Joe. At one point during a baseball game, the Little League coach called one of his young players over from the batter's box. The coach kneels down to him and he says, "Do you understand what cooperation is?" The little kid said, "Yes, I do." Coach says, "Do you understand what matters is whether we win or lose together as a team?" The little boy said, "Yes." The coach said, "So when a strike is called against you, or when you're out at first, you know you don't argue or curse or attack the umpire. You do understand that, don't you?" Again, the little boy said, "Yes, yes." Well, we're continuing our study of the book of James, and today we're looking at James 2, verses 14 through 19. So let me begin with James 2:14. This is what it says. "What does it profit, my brethren, if a man says that he has faith but has not works? Can his faith save him?" Well, James is continuing on the theme of talking versus doing. And now he's asking us, what's the point of all that talk? Does it do any good? So a person says that they've got faith and they've got no works. Then he asks the question, can that save them? And for James, the answer is clearly no. James gives this illustration. If a brother or sister is ill-clad, that means poorly dressed, and in lack of daily food, and one of you says to them, "Go in peace, be warmed and filled," without giving them the things needed for the body, what does it profit? So faith by itself, if it has no works, is dead. Growing up, I remember sayings like, "You talk the talk, but you don't walk the walk." Then when I answered a call into the ministry, I heard this saying, "People don't care what you know until they know that you care." And I think that all these sayings are just echoes of what James is telling us. Faith without works is dead. And that's strong language there. It's dead. It's gone. It's past. It doesn't matter. It can't affect anything. It's worthless. Francis Chan uses the example. What if I got my kids a puppy for Christmas? And they're all excited about it. And then they open up the box and they found out that I got them a dead puppy. They would look at me like I was the worst father in the world. See, their hopes were all up. They were expecting something great, but what I actually got them was not just disappointing, it was grotesque. And James is saying that that's how bad it is when we talk, but we don't put our faith into action. We can say, "Wow, look at that person. She's such a great teacher." But no, it doesn't matter if you don't do the things you teach. I have a friend named Robert Lane who's in finance, and one of his saying is, "Quit taking financial advice from broke people." Right? I like that. Quit taking advice from broke people. Someone is telling you how to get out of debt, and yet they can't pay their own bills. They want you to have money saved, but they don't save money themselves. Their advice is worthless. A parent smokes and then tells his kids, "Don't do as I do as I say." Well, you tell me, how's that going to work out? The kid is more likely to follow their parents' actions than their words. James goes on and says this. But someone will say, "You have faith and I have works." I say, "Show me your faith apart from your works, and I, by my works, will show you my faith." It's like someone saying, "Well, you know what? We're just different. You're a doer and I'm more of a thinker." And James is saying, "You go ahead. You talk and talk and talk about your faith all day. I'm going to show you my faith by my works." And James lived his life in a way that people who looked at his life would say, "Hey, there's no way that he'd be doing these things unless he believed in a God who's leading and guiding him." So James emphasizes faith in action. This reminds me of Francis Assisi. He said, "Preach the gospel at all times, and if necessary, use words. I found another one of St. Francis's quotes, and here it is. The deeds you do may be the only sermon some persons will hear today. So for us, the challenge is not just what we believe, but what does our belief move us to do? When you see someone who's hungry, what does your faith move you to do? When you see people facing injustice, what does your faith move you to do? And then James really steps on some toes. Here's what James says. You believe that God is one. Here he's going back and he's quoting from the Shema that the Israelites would have said, the Lord your God is one. So he says, you believe that God is one. Well, you do well to do that. Guess what? Even the demons believe and shudder. That's deep. Even the demons believe and shudder. You think your faith is so good. Well, guess what? The demons in hell believe in God and shudder. Well, why do they shudder? They shudder because they're terrified. And they're terrified because they know they're not doing right. They fear God because they aren't living out what they believe. So here's a question. What's the difference between you and the demons in hell? You both believe in God. You both have fear of God. So what's the difference? The demons refuse to obey God. They refuse to come under the authority and follow his lordship. But you have a choice. What will you do? At one point during a Little League baseball game, the Little League coach called out one of his players from the batter's box, and he said to him, you do understand what cooperation is, don't you? The little boy said, yes. Coach said, well, you do understand that what matters here is whether we win or lose together as a team. The little boy nodded and said, yes. The coach continued, so when a strike is called against you or when you're out at first base, you don't argue, you don't curse, you don't attack the umpire. You do understand that, don't you? The little boy said, yes, coach, I do. Good, the coach said. Now go over there to the stands and explain it all to your mother. James is saying that it's not enough just to know or to talk or even to believe. Put it into action. God bless.